if you want, I can make you feel more special. Hi, welcome to Seven Ideas. This is Pradeep. Okay, so look, all right, serious mode. Okay, so the first topic is in the news, and essentially what, just again, so to give you a bit, so to have it in the back of your head when you answer the question, it is not so much something that's happening everywhere, while it may be something that is happening beyond your market, but it is more to find out your particular market, because we're trying to talk to people outside just Singapore and Indonesia, vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So having said that, we did discuss what we're going to talk about, and it seems like the one burning topic that's on your mind that you want to talk to people about is how digital advertising has become very tactical these days. And the way I've written it down has become too tactical. Is it too much measurement getting in the way of the actual work, the quality of work? And then if you can go into how you mentioned, and I quoted you on it, things like, you said structure and creativity aren't best friends. So we can address a little bit of that. And maybe at the end, and that's a debate we can both have, I've written it down as what you've written. I have some opinions on it. The chaos is part of the art. Have we lost sight of what this provides our clients, our consumers, etc.? Go on. Go ahead.
Right. So if you think about creativity as such, right, we are in the business to actually create interesting work for any brand that sort of approaches with a problem to sort of solve a particular problem for them. But what's happened recently is because of digital advertising and the way it's created, a lot of people, a lot of brands, it's not that they're ignoring brand work, it's just that they're paying less importance to it. So even on the awareness funnel, they are tactical. Even on the, they're definitely tactical when the funnel comes down to reach, but that tactical nature doesn't seem to go away. And Joji is watching the video live. Hello, Joji.
Hey, Joji, how's it going, man? Long time no see. Go on, Pradeep.
And that tactical nature of advertising is what's bothering me, because a lot of brands are pushing numbers out, and they're putting deals out, and there's just so many ways that you can do numbers and deals. Eventually, what happens is this is only true for digital advertising. Eventually, what will happen is that you'll create a lot of numbers in the system where people just see numbers and they don't remember because of numbers. People always remember because of how you make them feel. In the way advertising used to be before was, it was created around an insight that made you feel something, that made you remember the particular brand, that, helped you connect that brand to, oh, that brand made me feel that way, and hence maybe I should go and get something from that brand, whether it's a service or a product or whatever it may be. But right now what they're doing is numbers, and it's 20% off, or a deal where you buy it for 10 months and you get 2 months free. And these things generally, I think, don't stick well with customers. They don't remember these deals after a while because they're flooded with all of these deals. So my issue with advertising today is there are too many of these deals in digital advertising, and that's become a bit of an issue.
So look, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I get where you're coming from, but the nature of, if you've been doing this long enough, it's because you have an idea of what it was like before the advent of digital advertising. And I get that. But the reality is we are in a digital advertising world. There's no going around it. What I would put to you, and maybe this comes back a little bit more to maybe, is this a local market problem? Hear me out. Because I spent about 12, 13 years in Singapore, I have seen that. I have felt the bits that you're talking about. But I've also worked in Indonesia. I worked in Jakarta. And I would say, yes, on one hand, digital advertising definitely takes the forefront of the biggest agenda, the biggest budget, or the most sought after budgets are going in that direction. I get it. But it is dealt in different ways, because a market as big as Jakarta, for example, the digital advertising could be the the big beauty queen kind of work to do. But Indonesia is a big enough market that there is still above the line media. There is still TV. There is still, I mean, we can argue whether it's too retail or not creative based. I get that. And when you mentioned you wanted to talk about this, I know where you're going with this, and let's go deeper into it. But how much of it is a situation in a limited market? I mean, you got a 5 million population market. There's only so much client investment going into their brands, whether it's at a brand level or at a tactical level. But the reality is, based on, like, if you're a CMO, right? I've got $10, right? As opposed to Indonesia, it's not that they're doing better or worse work. They just naturally have $20. That $20 can be cut up in a more happy, creative way, let's say, as opposed to maybe, is it in Singapore that they're just being very streamlined, and that's where the frustration is? That, number one. But number two, is it also related to where you are in the totem pole of the ad agencies? The bigger ad agencies with their bigger rate cards, they're still getting in those kind of work. And maybe it just makes financial sense to go after a lot of the kind of work that you're going with right now. And that frustration is off the back of that. Do you think there's a correlation there?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's the case. But the way I see it is, there is money being spent, right? And people are creating ads. But you can't sell from the first frame. You know, there's this old saying that you make them laugh, you make them cry, and then you make them buy. But now we've forgotten the laughing, we've forgotten the crying. It's straight to buy. It's buying from the get-go. And that is my, that is what I'm afraid of. If you're too tactical in nature, if we just keep screaming buy right from the beginning, whether it's a 3-frame, whether it's a GIF, whether it's a digital banner, a 3-frame digital banner, whether it's a static banner, if we keep going buy, people are going to get desensitized. They just, everything is going to look the same to them after a while. And that's not going to look great. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't think it's a matter of how much money I'm spending on channels. People are still spending that money. I don't think maybe it is an agency issue where some agencies probably do better work, and I'm sure some agencies do better work. But when it comes to digital advertising and it comes to programmatic, where it's all based on, what's going to get me that click, and someone will say that, I think if you put this number here, it's definitely going to give you a click. So they front loaded with a lot of numbers. But they forget that we're still supposed to make people laugh. We're still supposed to make people cry before they buy. Otherwise, they're just not going to remember you. They won't know what to buy. Because after getting bombarded by at least 10 or 15 of these ads, scrolling through, say, a website, and eventually you're just going to not remember any brands. You're just going to remember 7%, 6%, 4%, 3%, or 10%. And it's just going to be a lot of just numbers in your head that confuse you more than give you any clarity.
How about this? I'm going to try to look at it from a somewhat objective CMO point of view, okay? Mr. or Miss CMO might say to Pradeep, yeah, but I am getting that, and I'm getting that from my influencers. See, what you cited is that what's your right, but what I'm saying to you is, as far as the nature of how advertising is being done right now, the clients perhaps don't really give a fuck whether Pradeep. I'm just saying, right? Maybe that's the thing. It's because we have not that we have lost. There is a trust thing as well, and I talked about this with my last guest. You should check it out on TikTok. But the whole trust and relationship aside, it just become an evolution of how the awareness, the engagement stuff is happening, and is slowly being stripped away from the agencies in that sense. So that's why when you're on the ground level, i.e. non-influencer advertising, what we're finding is we're being left with a lot more of these things. So then maybe to turn it around, what is it that an agency should be doing to the point you're making, digital advertising can be a very gray way of looking at advertising, and we're losing a lot of that interest level for XYZ reasons. What is it that an agency should be doing to get back that trust, to get back that engagement, for them to go, you know what, this influencer has got 1 million followers, we should pump money that way. But is there a way to bring that money back towards advertising? Because there's one thing to say, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, but are there solutions about it, solutions to it?
I'm not trying to say that influencer marketing is better or worse than advertising.
Sure.
That's a separate issue. It's not an issue. If people want to go with influencer marketing, please go ahead. It works, right? So there's nothing wrong with influencer marketing. I think the influencers also have ways of talking about stories and doing the stuff in their own way, which works for certain brands, and I'm fine with that. But see, sometimes brands, even when they are on certain channels, they use digital advertising throughout, from the top to the bottom, from awareness right on to the bottom funnel, right? But when they're doing this, your awareness still needs to be brand skew. Like, for example, what I'm trying to tell you is, at one point when I started doing banners somewhere around 2001, okay, really early, and someone told me the best way to look at a banner is a 3-frame TVC. It's like, how do you do a banner? How do you make it interesting? Why do banners have to be boring? You don't have to say everything. It can be a 3-frame TVC. So I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at it. You know, like, how can I attract the right attention first before trying to actually tell you, go to this website, find out more. I don't need an offer at the end of an awareness banner. I need you to feel like you want to learn more. I need to tell you a bit of a story, or start a story that makes you want to finish it somewhere else, right? But if we start front-loading the offers all the time, everywhere, I just think that we take away that storytelling. We make it all about the numbers. And if advertising becomes so measured and so structured, it's good. You can create. You can tell your clients that, hey, this is working and this isn't working. But you lose that storytelling. And what happens when you lose that storytelling over time is that everything just starts looking the same. And that's what.
I think, and then, by the way, the influencer, that was just my way of saying maybe they're not seeing it. I didn't mean to say you were suggesting that all the good stuff is going there. I was just giving an example. For the thing is, okay, how about this? Let's look at it in a different way. Do you think this is a problem that has been the problem that you're citing? Do you think that's something that has been getting worse over time, or is that an inevitable evolution anyway? So what I'm saying is, digital advertising is here. It's going to be very much the principal channel, let's say, for every day, for the kind of work you're doing. Do you find that the relationship, the idea aspect of it, do you think that has been losing momentum gradually, or is that always been the case? You've been able to feel that the whole time?
That's interesting. You know, I think it's also down to agencies. A lot of agencies, they were traditional agencies that started doing digital work. Okay, they weren't digital first agencies. They were always traditional agencies that started doing digital work. So when digital work came into these agencies, they always looked at it from a TVC first point of view, not a digital first point of view. So the digital work always was like, let's just get this out. You know, it's like, let's focus on the TVC, let's focus on the print. Let's still do that, because people still like doing that stuff. You can't blame them. They still like doing it. But the focus wasn't really on digital advertising. It was always done as a part
an add-on.
Yeah, as an add-on. And it didn't get the right attention. And because it didn't get the right attention, I think it has just stayed that way. So everyone, because advertisers didn't, like agency folks didn't actually spend enough time finessing it and seeing potential in it. Brand guys also started, you know, like they saw it from a numbers point of view rather than from a creativity point of view. And that's just existed. and it's become worse over time. But it's it's something that started off, I think, because of this traditional mindset and the digital mindset. We just
Am I correct in then you saying because the traditional agencies who were adopters of digital, they didn't care enough about it, and then the digital first agencies kind of came in, measurability became the biggest marker of success for a campaign. They got the power over what the standard of advertising in that medium is, and then the industry norm kind of became that, and that is essentially what's
yeah
given birth to the monster that you're pointing out, right?
yeah.
Interesting. Do you think there is a way to reverse course?
There is always a way to reverse course. I think it's just a matter of people trying a little harder for the digital stuff. It's because that's our bread and butter now, whether you like it or not. That's where the clients spend the most money. Like people love doing TVCs, but very few ads really go onto TV these days. There are ads being done for TV, but not too many. So, but what's happening right now is there's so much of digital work, and if all the digital work, say 80% of it is just bread and butter and churn and burn, it will slowly decline over time, or creativity will decline over time because people want to get it out of the door. But if people start pushing and saying, hey, maybe I can make this banner interesting, maybe I can make this social post a little more interesting, and, maybe I can do something, a social campaign that's it's a very different campaign rather than just social posts. Maybe that will start changing mindsets for brands, and brands will start saying, hey, I'd probably like to see more of that. And it could be reversed. It's just effort from an agency's part, and again, like you mentioned earlier, trust from the client's part, and the relationship that's there with an agency and a client. Because the client's not going to trust you just because you say trust me, but they'll trust you because you've proved yourself to them. So it'll take time, but I think over time, with a relationship and with growing trust, I think it's possible.
We're going to cover getting into new gen talent and how that's working in advertising today, certainly in Singapore. But then to finish off the topic about digital advertising, do you find this is a perspective of someone who has been there back in the good old days, like the way, like you and I, we're having an old man discussion in that sense, before digital advertising. But the latest generation, I mean, look, we're like 20 plus years in the industry. But you have to understand, even people who have half that experience, 10-year experienced people, they also don't know anything better. Sorry, not better. They don't have anything to compare against. So there is something to be said about, well, the crop of people, the talent that is going to be doing the work that you need to get done that clients are paying for, they have nothing to compare against, right? You are suffering from the issue of having hindsight, right? That's the issue you're having. How do you communicate that to the kids nowadays, your team, other people
I think you roll up your sleeves. You have to roll up your sleeves. See, because the reason they don't have anything to compare with is partly because we haven't created anything to compare. So I think the point is, let's roll up our sleeves, let's get into this together. And I think there's always good work being done across the world. It's just a matter of, let's learn, let's take the best examples, and let's make it work. Let's try. Keep trying.
Last question then for this section. In relation to digital advertising, besides the, according to you, the quality of work has changed or has eroded, let's say. Besides that, do you also find it has an impact on, at a local Singapore level, the amount of award as a currency that is being generated now for the Singapore market because of the thing we're talking about? Or do you think that's irrelevant? Or rather, that is not a factor for the lament?
I don't think it's a factor for the lament. I think good work is still being done in Singapore. It just, the amount of good work being done has decreased. But good work is still being done. Good work is still getting awarded. I think we should, as a community, as a advertising community, we should actually encourage each other and get more competitive to do better work.
And the market is compact enough to be able to do that, right? Quite successfully.
It is, if I think.
I mean, in the context of trying to do this in a market like New York or London, it's a little hard to change all the ships at the same time. It is a lot more controllable within a market like Singapore.
See, I just think a few people need to start doing good work, and once you see them, you want to do better work, and it just becomes infectious after a point.
Okay, let's move on. So the next topic is informal topic. Yeah. Initially, I had told you, so the topic is about something niche about you that's not related to advertising, and I put a little disclaimer there, and you can play the reverse Uno card, and you've chosen to play the reverse Uno card. Yeah. So go ahead. You have a question related to, well, you're going to go on.
So what I wanted to ask you was, everyone's been talking about working from home and they, why they don't want to go back to work. And you're like one of the pioneers of working away from office because you started working from Bali such a long time back. And I just wanted to ask you, what's it like working from Bali? Because Bali has a lot of distractions, good beaches, nice bars, the weather is good, the food's good. So it has a lot of distractions. It's generally known as a holiday place. So you generally don't want to work in holiday places. So what's it like working in Bali? And what are the pros? What are the cons?
Okay. So first of all, I don't want this to come across like I was a fortune teller. I could see like, yeah, I'm going to be the cool guy who moves and works in Bali. It was a happy coincidence. I was working in Jakarta, and it was the middle of COVID, and we couldn't go to the office. And it just happened to be, at the time, Indonesia being a country of 280 million people, the urgency to get all expats of a certain age vaccinated, I was quite low priority. And essentially, so I was working for a Singapore company, and I was running the Jakarta office. And I basically told my boss, mate, I don't have to go to office. Nobody has to go to the office. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm going to move to Bali. Anyway, so that's how I ended up in Bali. I stayed with them for a year, and then after the year, they closed shop, and that's when I started freelance mode again, as opposed to, I was always kind of known as a freelance guy in Singapore, but that's not what I was initially doing in the future. So to answer the second part of the question, which is the distractions, I think that'll come in quite nicely. That also will relate a bit about experience of how I want to speak on how that makes a difference. You're right, Bali has distractions, but I guess it comes down to individuals, how you saw it. I remember after the year of being in Bali, while still doing a full-time job, after we closed down the office, I was feeling kind of bummed. And then my partner told me, you live in Bali, what's the problem? But the point I meant to say was, I think that is also an experience thing, because I did take it because at the end of the day, because of COVID, it wasn't about I'm in Bali versus in Singapore or Jakarta. I still have a set amount of hours that I can do it. Now, so that was a discipline thing. I can't speak to, I think generally from the expats that I've seen who've been doing that digital nomad life, yes, it's a bit more laid back than normal. I mean, I wear shorts more than, than otherwise, and that's expected. I've never liked the whole go to cafe and work. I have friends who do that. I have a friend in Thailand who's going to be on this live session in a few weeks. He's been working out of not in Bangkok, but another remote island in Thailand, and he's always working from a cafe. He tends to like doing that. I personally don't like doing that because for me, it's a work hard, play hard. So I think it's also about who you are. Now, having said that, let's talk about work from home. I don't think work from home is the same as work from home in Bali, but it's for a different reason. If I was doing work from home in Singapore, after I'm done with work, I'm still going out and I have only a few things to do in Singapore. Certainly during the height of the pandemic, you can go to, let's say you can now go back to bars or you can go out and meet friends. It's still, you're living that city kind of life, that urban environment. It's a different kind of happiness that you get. See, working from home in an urban environment, and Jakarta is where I started doing it, it wasn't fun. In fact, I would say a lot of people from our generation would have said, screw this work from home. We need to get back to the office. There's that culture, that camaraderie, that social aspect of it that is important, and that's missing. And I did find that missing, but much, much later on. And the reason I found that much later on is because Bali is so different in terms of, you cited it, right? But I look at more from the natural aspects of it, right? The beaches, the waterfalls, hiking, stuff like that. It kind of feeds your soul in a different way. I found working from home in Bali is so much, like I thank heaven, like I got to do it in Bali. So it's that work hard, play hard mentality. But in this case, if I was in an urban environment like Singapore, my play hard would be the same as what anyone does before the work from home era. But in Bali, it became, I think I'm going to go for a hike, now, not to say you can't do that in Singapore, but the average person doesn't do that. And when you're in a place like Bali, you almost feel like I don't think FOMO is the right word, but it's like everyone else is doing it. Let's go hike to that waterfall for 2 hours, or let's go down to the beach. I got a dog when I came to Bali, and I was working for an ad agency. I was freelancing with an ad agency in Singapore last year in October. And I'm not going to I don't name any agencies. Nobody should name any agencies on these calls. I was working for an agency, and I just told them I just had one rule. I need to take a break from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And after that, I'll come back and I'll work. Very similar to what you tell me, like I would leave work early. I got to go pick up my daughter, and I'm happy to come and work from home. And again, that's also going to come into play a little bit as I go on. It's about that experience and understanding the responsibility. So I told this big agency, and they're like, that's kind of weird. Like, who takes a break from 5 to 6? Well, I got to walk my dog. I go to the beach every day. And that act of giving yourself that discipline, which I would have probably never tried in Singapore, I think in Singapore, I would have just gone back to what would I have done otherwise in my daily life before the pandemic. But because the lifestyle kind of brought in elements like I have a pit bull, he's a big dog, I have to take him for a walk every day. It kind of forced me to do that. And, it keeps your mind healthy, your body healthy, things like that. I think working from home in Bali is a lot different in terms of giving it as a reward to, let's say, currently to a team you may have. It's just a luck thing. I didn't plan it, but I really thought that's something I'm blessed for it have happened. Now, I've always hated talking about the work from home thing because I am always afraid, certainly if I'm putting this out and someone who is very pro work from home, they tend to be of a different generation. I would like to say one thing, and that's something because I have been working from home since 2021, and talking to a lot of friends, including my friend last week, we talked a little bit about it. Working from home is, as a long-term solution, is probably better for someone who has kind of already cut the mustard, who already knows what they're doing in many ways.
I agree.
As me, the person who's working from home, me, was the same person who was a freelancer but working in the office. It's a job. You do the job, and if you're, let's say, senior enough, you can be autonomous in how you do things. Long-term work from home can be hazardous to a drop in our culture right now. One of the conversations I had with the guest last week, you can see it on TikTok, it's labeled trust. And it was generally about trust between agencies and clients, but it was also about trust between your own team. It's not so much that you can't trust your team, but sometimes there are certain things that have to be learned while looking over their shoulder or them coming and asking you directly, as opposed to a work from home creates a regimen that includes what time is my boss pretty free? Let's set a time. As opposed to, sometimes it's like it's a niggling problem that you have. Like we've been there, right? As a junior, whatever it is, and you go to your ECD or you go knock knock, like, can I talk about it? And you talk about it and you put it in the drawer and you can get on to the next thing. Work from home, as much as it has made things efficient, some might argue, I think it has also pulled us back. But it really comes down to how you use it, and experience, I think, kind of makes up for that. Yeah.
I think that, what you said just now, the trust, not between clients, but the trust between the people you're working with, I think that boils down to how you've adapted to work. You can't work the same way you worked in office when you're working at home. You change. The way things are done, it's not, it's not just turning in your chair anymore and saying, hey, how's it going? Can we catch up in a few minutes? It's not that way anymore. It's different. And so long as I think people adapt to it well, it becomes easier. We work mostly at home, and it's not bad.
Okay.
It's working. It's working out well. And the reason I asked about this is because most agencies, most companies are actually going back to office, right? So when people are going back to office, it's become three days a week, and now it's become going to go maybe 4 days a week. I thought a nice way to, working from Bali might be a nice trade-off. Like, let's work 1 week in Bali if you're going to work 3 or 4 days in office. It's like you're incentivizing people. So I thought that work from Bali, work from Bangkok. Maybe not Bangkok. Bangkok is probably not the nicest place to work from home. But I work from Bali, work from Krabi, work from some other place. You work. So working remotely still comes in, but it's done differently. It's more about a team bonding exercise rather than just working in your own bubble.
I think if you want to, because you're looking at more from an incentivized perspective, right? Yeah. If you're looking at from an incentivization perspective, I think it is good. But again, it's also, you have to understand what your team is looking for. So let's use your example like Krabi. You may see it as, let's do Krabi because I would enjoy working from Krabi. Yeah. And again, it comes down to that relationship that you've got with that team.
See, but most people would not decide this. They'd let the people decide this. It'd be unanimous. It'd be something that's collective rather than one person saying, I want to go to a particular destination.
Yeah.
I thought about the work from Bali because of, it's just you were working there for such a long time. I said that might not be a bad idea for some teams and some companies. It's like, it's not bad. If you're coming to work 3 or 4 days a week, maybe work from Bali might make it easier.
As long as you distinguish it from it becoming a retreat type work thing, because I think there is that danger. Because, people, I think we all generally associate a remote location work week as a corporate retreat, something like that. You have to, you got to temper that. But I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
If your budget can definitely handle it, and I guess it comes down to how big your team is, I suppose, right at the end of the day. Look, I think it's healthy. My only tip would be to avoid it feeling like a corporate retreat type thing. Give them that same freedom after work hours. What I'm saying is, guys, we're in Ubud or wherever it is. Work is done. Fuck off. I don't want to see you anymore till the next day. If you can do it that way, it doesn't become like the office has an agenda itinerary.
And you don't need to hang out after work, right? It becomes too much. It's like 1 week of seeing the same people again and again.
I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy. I mean,
you could probably start a business off this, man.
Boy, let's talk. We'll figure that out. So, and look, it comes down to self-awareness. Even I wasn't aware of it, so you have to also understand. Like, it took me a year while I was still working full-time, and after leaving that job, and then realizing, holy shit, I'm in Bali. Why am I feeling shitty about it? Let's enjoy it. But it did take me the work only, and then because of this pandemic, work only, and then do the minutia of what you need to do to get by to the next day. I needed to go through a bit of that, and that is a learning thing. And what I would say to the last point you made, that maybe I can help do these kind of things. I would be open to having that kind of a conversation with people.
Yeah.
I think it's important too, because at the end of the day, we're not doing it as a treat. It's more, how do we bring back an energy that may have not returned in the same way since that scenario was created.
Exactly. Yeah. And see, you've been there for what, 21, so almost 4 years. You know the place, you know the right places where, people could hold things like this. So it could be interesting. Could be interesting for sure.
I've never looked at it from that angle, but yes, of course. But I know what you mean. I know what you, and the good thing is, so during the pandemic, the digital nomad, they said they're going to have the digital nomad visa, which I was looking forward to start doing that. But they didn't do it. But they have actually just started that in the last year.
Yeah.
So I only say that, I know that's not relevant to you and your team, but it's relevant in the fact that since the digital nomad movement is now official, there are a lot more spaces for things like that. I mean, on Instagram, I'm getting sponsored ads for workspaces. You can rent like a monitor setup per week, for people who come. Actually, you can't per week. You're right. I just thought of that on the fly. You can do that already. So you can have equipment and that. So rather than, and another way of avoiding it, feeling like a retreat, you rent. So let's say you have a team of 10 people. You would know that Bali is the kind of place where you can rent a villa with like 4, 5, 6 bedrooms. But instead of looking from a bedroom point of view, make that your makeshift office for the week.
Yeah.
And then you can rent in those equipment for the week. It's definitely possible. But yeah, it's about that. But you have to have the separation of church and state after hours. I think it's okay.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to this next topic. And the next topic is our community. So this is, again, coming back to a lot of things. It seems to be the theme of the conversation anyway. It's about talent, the latest generation, or not latest generation, but the generation of the hardworking guys who are, in our teams. I would like you to talk a little bit about, because I've left Singapore since 2018, so I don't know a lot of what's been happening with the current crop of people. Could you speak a little bit about on-the-job training today in advertising? Definitely, since it doesn't have to be since 2018 while I was there, but look at it from your time back in that other big agency with the 3 letters, from how it was happening there to where it is now. So on-the-job training, how it has changed over the years, and in a world of print and TV, as I've got it written down here, each piece of work was scrutinized, and craft was a skill. So this is coming back a little bit towards the craft end of things. And that was continuously honed in. But now with the digital ads that need to be created yesterday, getting something out has become more critical. Is that affecting new talent entering the industry? Is execution being prioritized more? And are the stories suffering for that reason?
Yeah. So a couple of questions, but I'll just stick to talent, right? And on the job training. So you're right. So earlier when we joined advertising, it was more about craft, more about learning the right way to do it. I joined as a writer, so it was you probably learn how to write really well before you could write a print ad, or before you got a script. You got many other things that you have to actually go and grind through. That isn't so much the case now. I think it's also because the medium has changed. Like I was talking earlier, and we're going more towards digital advertising. And because we're moving in this space, and people want to get digital advertising out, so they pass it on to the younger guys, and the younger guys generally get it out. But they don't they forget, or sometimes, there isn't enough time for them to actually go and say, let's think about this insight and how we translate this insight into the digital space and what could be possible in the digital space. Because there's just not enough time to go back and forth with how to refine an idea and make it better when you need something delivered yesterday. So the on-the-job training, I think, has reduced as compared to before. And that's affected some part of the ideation as well, and the craft and the storytelling.
That reduction in time, is that more coming from the client side, or is that, or are they both they're one and the same? Is it because even something I would have noticed during that time was the perennial complaint of most creatives: there's not enough time. There's not enough time to get the thing done. Is that just a sliding scale that's just been happening more and more, and that's just not
helping?
There's
never enough time. Even when there was time, there wasn't enough time. So I don't know whether I know everyone, we're always rushing and there's never enough time. But I'm talking about more of the on-the-job training, or where there's, like I'm helping you develop as a creative. So most people still join advertising as writers or art, and now we'll probably have the tech devs who probably who'll come in and say, maybe we can actually do a creative technologist, they call them. You could probably come and say, maybe we could have this build, and you sort of work together with these 3 or 4 people with a strategist in between as well. So it's always the training with helping these guys say, like, let's develop craft of a writer, let's develop the craft of an art guy, let's develop the craft of the creative technologist to actually fine tune and make it better, to move it towards the insight and the idea, is not prevalent anymore. I just think it's decreased over time, because if it's a digital banner, let's just get it up. If it's a social post, let's just get it up. And this whole thinking of, let's just get it out has sort of come and bitten us back in the ass.
Do you think this is a problem happening at all levels of, like what I'm saying is, big multinational companies as well, and local shops?
I think it is. I think it is.
Okay.
Maybe not for all brands within the local and multinationals, but it is. It's definitely happening.
And so then, in that case, I mean, what do you think it's doing to talent? Oh, well, no. What do you think it's doing to the existing talent who are already going through this lack of mentorship at the level that I think you would find more comfortable, that we're used to, versus the expectation that is exactly what it's going to be like going into advertising, in the sense of looking at it from a new talent who's thinking of coming into advertising, knowing that you're going to be kind of set free, and am I really going to learn? And this is coming back more to the survival of the industry in that sense, in attracting talent. Yeah. These things all have impact.
I'm sure it does. But I think what will happen is, everyone, or all creatives, they have a particular burnout point where after working for a bit of time, they generally burn out if they've been working too hard for too long. That burnout time will probably happen faster, because after a while, if people just don't enjoy what they're doing and they're doing it just to get it out, they'll either burn out or they'll leave. And that's what's happening, I think, with the industry. We're having a lot of people leaving the industry. One, because it's not as attractive as it used to be, both financially and with the output. And second, because of this churn that's there.
So whose shoulders does the responsibility lie in this case? Like, so we've identified the problem. The amount of time taken to cultivate talent potential, let's call it that way, is that not the onus of the agencies? Not in the sense of not agencies. Is that not on the onus of the leaders, creative leaders, strategy leaders, account leaders?
the people leading the agency, it's the agency. Yeah, it is. But sometimes it's, like I said earlier, right, measurements. And we're becoming so structured, we're chasing numbers. And because we're chasing numbers, there's this fine line now, what do you place more importance on? Do you place more importance on numbers, or do you place more importance on output and creativity? And I think if we balance it well, it should be sustainable. It'll get better with time. But if you don't balance it well and you chase numbers more than you chase the output, I think it might become an issue over time.
Can you speak to what's happening on your side personally that you are, what are you guys trying to do to address that? Because this topic needs to also have it's a community conversation. We have to have a resolution of how we solve it.
I'll be honest with you. We've started we have been around for the past 3 years. So initially, it was all about numbers, because you need to sustain and make sure the business is sustainable. And initially, it was all about the numbers. But now we started paying a little more attention towards the output and seeing if we can push things a little further. It's not that we didn't pay attention earlier. It's just that we were balancing it, but the balance was slightly skewed. But now we're trying to get that balance right again. So we're trying to actually pay more attention to the work, fight a little more, sell a little more. So yeah, let's see how that goes. You never know. It might just be all talk.
Well, look, I am reminded of an experience when I was a junior. It was at an agency with 4 letters and a slash in it, and I remember the year I joined was the same year that this particular ECD had joined, and we learned this after the fact. But that first year, we went full hog on coming up with the best type of work. And it resulted in a very successful year for us from an awards take. And I remember we went off for a Christmas break or whatever it was, and we came back all fresh. And I remember this ECD came into the bullpen, into the creative bullpen, and said, guys, we did it. We did all that. This year is a money-making year. And sure enough, he set that second year of my tenureship there to be more about how do we make sure that we are bringing in the right type of money for the agency to sustain itself. What he told us, and this is, I guess, a story that I want to share with you because it might help you personally, is the way he had arranged it with the CEO at the time was, you want me in this agency, I'll come to this agency, give me the first year to do what I want, and remember, it's not the same thing as a local shop where when you're starting from scratch, like you said, you have to set the foundation. You got to make sure that what is the point of going full on to be the best in creativity if you're not going to sustain your business. But within a multinational, he was able to say, let me do this for 1 year and then this year with money making year. The lesson I think what I'm trying to tell you is, as the creative leader for the agency, once you feel you have established that, like you said, 3 years now, you've done the 3 years, you talk to your partners and you say, we've done it, we've gotten to the point where we're buoyant and we can stay buoyant. Let's now take a punt on year 4 or something like that. Again, it's subjective how you want to.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing in lesson from what I remember. And I've always remembered that that's a very, not ballsy, like a bold and brave way of looking at it. Do what needs to be done, but don't lose sight of what it is that we need to do for the legacy, if that's the thing you want to do.
That's exactly what I was talking about, the balance. Making sure the balance is right. Just a correction, I'm not the creative leader. There are 3 creative leaders. But yeah, it's just about that balance and making sure that the balance is right. You push creativity, but you also make sure the numbers are right. The focus was slightly skewed earlier, but let's see.
And so then what is the actual advice? I mean, I've written down some notes. Learning and developing is a 2-way street. Do you want to talk a bit more to that? We got to guide them into the world of insights, craft, and storytelling.
See, I think, I'm speaking from my point of view. I'm slightly older. but a lot of young people are coming into the industry as well. So that's why I said I think learning is a two-way street. Why we teach them about insights and ideas and craft and storytelling. I think they teach us about how we speak on particular mediums, what's right, what do help us understand the younger audiences better, so that we actually speak to them not like we would speak to an older audience, but like they should be spoken to, the younger audience. And it's that's why I say learning is a two-way street. And sometimes we're so focused on insights and ideas that we forget that these the younger audiences, they're different. They're very different. The way they consume content is different. The way they interact with brands is different. Earlier advertising was always pushed up, but the consumers today, they prefer brands engaging with them rather than just listening to brands. It's not a two-way street it is a two-way street now, but before it wasn't necessarily a two-way street when it came to advertising. And that's changing. And I think it's important for us to also learn about these younger consumers and how they behave. And hence I said it's a two-way street. We learn from the younger people who join us, and we teach them as well.
Okay, so then to wrap up, imagine I create a clip here which talks to this younger audience, and they want to know if someone like Pradeep D'Souza feels that there is still a gap in that on-the-job training that's not happening right now. As that young talent, what is it that they can do to ask for it or ensure that it happens, and it would motivate them to be, let's say, more engaged in this new generation of advertising?
See, they can ask for it, sure. But I think the best way to do this is the best way for them to get into it is to go really deep, to understand all about advertising, to understand about craft, to actually work harder and smarter initially, so that it seems like these guys are really interested in advertising. And the moment leaders or your boss looks at you and say, you really look like you're really interested in advertising, they want to mentor you. They want to make you better. So I think there needs to be a lot of initiation from the younger guys as well. It's like, I just don't want to join advertising for the sake of joining advertising or for the sake of a job. I want to join advertising because I want to really do something interesting in advertising. I'm really passionate about this whole business of advertising. I want to make my mark in advertising. And once you come in with that mindset, people are going to see that drive. They're going to see that passion. They're going to see that spark. And trust me, most people, when they see that, they want to sort of mentor you and make you better so that you can actually develop more. So that would be my advice. Get in for the right reasons. And if you're in for the right reasons, just set your mind on success, set your mind on succeeding. Try to do whatever you have to do, and you will get noticed. And once you get noticed, then you will get mentored and you will improve.
Right. So I've always been of the belief that when people like yourself make this plea that, I wish we had more time to cultivate talent, it was never necessarily something that I was worried that was not happening, but there's that initiative that you take sometimes as the creative leader. So one of the things I remember I once did, I was creative leader of this agency. It had an ampersand in between. I can't remember the name. And it was a small team. I think we were like 15 people in that team. And what I did was I forced everybody every month to go to Bashir's when Bashir's was still around. Yeah. I think I heard they're gone now, right? It's no longer
there. Not sure.
I'm not sure. I think it's not there. So I used to take the team to Bashir's, and I used to tell them, pick a book. It doesn't have to be what you do, but whatever you pick, I want that to be something that you're interested in. That's where you're picking it. And let's see if we can bring in what you're learning from that into what you're doing on a daily basis. And I did that on my own until the CEO found out and said, all right, we'll pay for it. And you can do it every month. And then I did it again in Jakarta, I was running a bigger team there, but because it was such a big team, I couldn't do that every month. But what I did was every week I would take one particular team member to lunch. I'd take them out for lunch, and I wanted to ask, what is it? Because I was new. I'm a foreigner in Jakarta, in an Indonesian-speaking country. I don't know what a lot of these guys were doing. That was my way of breaking the ice. Like, you're an art director, but what are you really interested in? Like, I've had conversations where they go, I'm an art director, but I actually got into this because I wanted to do 3D modeling. That was something that happened. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And we had a management meeting over the course of a few months, and we put this person into a course. So I think what I'm trying to say is it is a two-way street, but it's also a two-way street in the sense where once you can have a handle on how you're running the business, we should all, as leadership, take time to find that whatever it is that works for you. It's important because the thing you said, a lot of what they can do, a lot of the times they probably know that, but they're too scared to ask. And I imagine Singapore is a different kind of society where it's not very boisterous type of, go to the boss and say, boss, this is what I'm really interested in. That's maybe not in the nature of a typical Singapore agency team member. So yeah, we all got to do our bit towards it. Okay, to wrap up, really, because we're coming to the end of the hour here, 10 minutes of you. Now, listen, the call, so just to let you know, Instagram Live, which is a beautiful thing, it lets me put these videos together. It does cut off at exactly 59 minutes and 59 seconds. You'll get a green bar that says the call will end.
Yeah.
But so I'll start this question, and hopefully, guys who are on the call right now, if you would like, and we have to get cut off, I will dial Pradeep back in because I think it's important for him to know. So last thing is a very simple one, 10 minutes of you. So Pradeep, whether it's your team members watching this or someone else watching this, I think if people will know if they stay from the beginning a little bit about who you are and what you've done. We got that from a lot of the anecdotes and stories. But tell us about you.
That's a very big, broad question. But thanks, Jeremy. I'll tell you what some people probably don't know about me. I like woodwork. I like making things. Yep. I like carpentry. Don't ask me why, but I like carpentry. So I couldn't find a toilet door that I really liked, so I made my own toilet door.
Leather wallet, remember?
And leather. So I like leather as well. So I made phone cases, I made leather wallets, I made watch straps. So I like making stuff in my downtime, but I haven't made any leather stuff for the longest time. Or I haven't made another door as well. It's going to time up.
It's going to die. I'm going to call you back. Thank you guys. If you're going to join, please. I would love to get this down. All right, man. Go on. Sorry, this disruption. So you were talking about woodworking, leather, but maybe take it from the top. It's a new video anyway, so you weren't very far into it.
Yeah. Well, what was I talking about?
10 minutes of you. What interests you?
I like working with my hands. So I do some leather craft. I do some woodworking, carpentry stuff. So I was, like I was saying earlier, I couldn't find a toilet door that I really liked. And, there are a lot of these plasticky toilet doors that get spoiled really fast. And I went through 2 of them. I couldn't find a good design that I liked. So I said, screw this, I'm going to build my own door. And I got the wood, I varnished it, I beveled it, I sanded it, and then polished it, put the right hinges on. And I made my own door. And then I made my own office table when I was working in my previous agency where we met. So there was a table that I made. I made it out of IKEA slats. These slats you get the bed that you put the mattress on. So so I had a set of slats that were old. I didn't want to throw them, so I just took off all the nails, took off the webbing, and then I turned those slats into a table, a little table. Not the steadiest, but it was a table. And leathercraft. Phone cases, a wallet. made a bag for my wife, a watch strap. Yeah, I made a couple of things, but I haven't done any leather work in a long time, nor have I made anything with wood in a long time.
You know, it's funny because you are a copy disciplined guy like myself.
Yeah.
I find I find it's almost nonchalant to be like an art person and say, you know, I'm into leather work and all. But even me, like as a copy guy, like I love creating things, building things as well. I've got a fascination with woodworking, and I have an outlet for it. But this is about you, and I will tell you a little bit more about that. You should learn how to do SketchUp. I learned that over the pandemic. SketchUp is like an app, a 3D modeling app, and I've created functional flat pack furniture just from my imagination. It does help in lieu of having, you know, like enough space to do woodworking stuff. It's gorgeous. There's something beautiful about natural wood and.
Yeah, but that's an issue. So woodworking and leather is noisy. So
leather
woodworking
is noisy.
Yeah, because you're sanding stuff, you're beveling stuff. It's noisy. It's a lot. There's a lot of dust. And before I used to do it in my kitchen, but I used to do it when my kids weren't born, so it was easier. Now with the kids, I don't think I'd be able to do it without getting disturbed. And I don't know. It's a bit tricky. So when you have your own shed and you have space to do it, it's a little easier. But if you don't, and you're doing it at home, in your home, it can be a little troublesome.
Well, since we're talking about creative outlet, have you replaced that with anything else currently, as an after work?
Not really. Not really. Yeah. So I still do leather work, but I still do like small leather work, very small leather work. But I don't build anything new. I just like, if I need something, my own headphones, I'll fix my headphones. You know, your leather gets off the headphones, so I'll fix that myself. So I fix a lot of things with leather these days.
I think that's just a dad life. That's, you know, you get used to fixing things around the house. Okay. Look, I think that's pretty much a wrap. I know we've gone over the hour. I always finish all these calls with the guests because this is a community, and I'm trying to get more people to talk about what they are bringing to our industry that we love and care about. That's the reason I've been doing this. This is more. It came off the back of losing that social connection with a lot of people, which is why. Thank you. I'm really grateful, Pradeep. You did this.
Yeah.
Pradeep, thanks so much, buddy.
Thank you.
For me, that was a Sunday fun day.
Yeah, it was. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on the call.
All good, bud.